I'm John Fensterwald, writer of the blog Educated Guest and host of the website Top Ed, Thoughts on Public Education in California, a forum on California education policy. Join me while I interview interesting and informed leaders in education. You'll learn a lot in 10 minutes or less. I'm John Fensterwald, and with me today is Tom Torlakson, Assembly member who is running for Superintendent of Public Instruction in the November election. Welcome, Tom.
Great to be here, John.
So you survived the June primary, and now you face your November election. So tell us about yourself. You've been in the legislature for 16 years, 14 years. Tell us why you're qualified to be our next superintendent.
Well, more than anything, I'm a teacher. I still teach at Los Medanos Community College. I get thrilled seeing students learn, get excited, get inspired, and I am very disappointed in California's drop of a priority, lessening of a priority for education. So I have some anger and disappointment and frustration, which I'm channeling. And I believe we need to turn it around. You know, when I was growing up in San Francisco public schools and Daly City public schools, my brothers and I had a great education. My dad was a teacher in San Francisco schools and later a principal. We were at the top of the nation. Now we're ranked 44th, 45th, 46th in math and science and language arts. That's disgraceful, and it's not part of the California promise or the California dream. So I'm a teacher fighting to turn it around. I think I have the skills of both the legislator who can bring parties together, and especially, you know, Democrats, Republicans, business and labor together to focus on the challenges. So I'm looking forward to a chance to guide our education system back to the top, to the preeminence we used to have.
So we'll get to, in a couple minutes, discussion about the financing of education and also what can be done to raise achievement. But meanwhile, let me ask you, what pieces of legislation can you point to that you're proud of and that might be indications of your priorities as a superintendent?
Well, one would be after-school programs. Back in 1998, Bill Lockyer and I had bills to create the after-school program in California. When I was a high school coach for 25 years, I had my after-school program, and I found young people thrived in a social network of mutual support and respect, and got their homework done, and did well in school. After-school programs were cut out after Prop 13, and so I reinstituted that in legislation. We now went from about 40 or 50 schools to 4,000 out of the 9,000 schools in California. About 500,000 children a day are enjoying a safe place to go where they can have music, art, drama, and after-school academics. So that was a program that is now the largest in the nation, that started with an idea that came from my experience as a teacher working as a coach. I also did the bill on Quality Education Improvement Act, taking $3 billion of money that had been ripped off by the governor, reinvesting it in schools, and just having marvelous success. And maybe final illustration I would give is when I was a county supervisor for 16 years, local government, problem solving, I was very upset with the state continuing to raid our property tax and take away money for juvenile justice, delinquency prevention programs, mental health programs, law enforcement. I led an effort in Sacramento that kept a spotlight on the injustice of that ripoff of Sacramento taking the money. And I crafted a ballot measure, Prop 1A, that went on the ballot and became the most popular measure in state's history. 83% of the voters supported it. But I did it by bringing Republicans and Democrats together around some core ideas and finding win-win.
So you mentioned QUEER, the Quality Education Investment Act, which was went into effect, what, 3 or 4 years ago, I believe. I mean, has it produced positive results for sure at this point? Have we seen?
I'm convinced that the trend is there, and the investment was meant to be a long-term 7-year investment. But I'll give you an example. Maryland Avenue Elementary School in Livermore was a Program 1 improvement school. They got the extra money from the QUEER grants, and they did mentorship programs, full training of the faculty in assessment and data. They work as a team. They give each student an individualized learning plan, and they've gone up 145 points. They're getting near 800, and they did this in a mere 3.5 years. So the extra focus really paid off, and there's a combination of, they also involve parents in coming to school with their preschool kids, adult literacy classes, They have a health clinic that the Valley Medical Center has joined with Rotary to bring a mobile health clinic to the campus. And I believe that it shows when you provide the right resources and the right support for teachers with professional development and training, you'll have success.
So resources, that's obviously a major issue, and you pointed, I think, to the issue that California is at the bottom in ratio of teachers to students, administrators, librarians, counselors, you name it. So, and you know, how much money should we be spending on schools in California, and how do you define it, and how do you get there?
Well, the studies have been done, one after the next, have said we're underfunding. We've retreated from the top priority we used to give the funding of education. And so the other states that are at the top of the nation, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, they're spending $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 per student. We're spending $5,500. We're spending $6,000, $7,000 per student. You can't compete globally, let alone in our own country, with starving the schools for those kind of resources and having crowded classes. So we need more money, but first we should do some reforms. And I believe the public is looking for things that I'm proposing. Career technical education, workforce preparation, savings. Right now we have 1,000 school districts. We're having maybe too many managers for that 1,000 districts. Why don't we have joint bus maintenance? Why don't we have joint payroll? Why don't we have joint purchasing? Why don't we have joint work on getting solar on the rooftops of our schools? We can save tens of millions of dollars by going solar and doing energy audits in our schools. I just give an example. One superintendent dealing with the budget crisis put a software in the computers of the 8 high schools of that district, Chaffee District, and saves $400,000 a year by turning the computers off after a certain number of minutes. So there's money to be saved that we currently have that needs to be more wisely invested.
Are there too many districts? Should we be
yes.
consolidating districts?
Yes, I think we should. I think we should, and we should provide a thoughtful process for district leaders to consider that, and the community to consider that, and do the cost-benefit analysis, and merge overhead. When I was a county supervisor, we had 16 fire districts, 16 fire chiefs. Over time, we boiled it down to 5 or 7 strong departments that now offer paramedic service, good building inspection, good programs on fire prevention. But we did it by having the chiefs of one district serve as chiefs of neighboring districts. Now, not the same parallel could occur for schools, but I believe we can do more collaboration. And down in Fresno County, 13 school districts got together to do a joint bus maintenance because individually it was costing them so much.
Right.
They're saving 20 to 30%.
So there's a lawsuit, Robles-Wong versus State of California, that California School Boards Association, Administrators Association, PTA.
Yes.
What would you do would you want to see that settled out of court, and what would you do as a superintendent about that action?
Well, it needs to be settled. And we shouldn't be involved in a lawsuit when we know the right answer is to address what the lawsuit raises into question. It raises into question, California has high standards. We should keep those high standards. We should be nationally competitive, we should be globally competitive, and have high learning targets. But we're not funding to those targets. And there's huge inequities across California. Some districts, again, with $5,500 per student, and others with $10,000 per student. So we need to look at the learning needs and have a strategy for really funding education to meet those great standards that we've adopted. And that's my view, is that that would be the #1 job of the superintendent in the next couple of years, and immediately upon taking office, is convene the major stakeholders and work with the new governor, work with the legislature, and hammer out a logical funding system that's going to have accountability, having effectiveness of principals and teachers as part of the mix, and funding equitably our school system.
Good. Well, Tom, let's take a break and come back in a minute, and we'll pick up where we left off and resume talking about funding and other issues.
Great.
John Fensterwald, educated guest, Top Ed. Be right back.